Okay, so we want to delve a little bit into Rambam Hilchot Teshuva. We're going to go actually to we're going to continue what we did yesterday in Perek Hamishi. Then I want to jump back to Hilchot Teot and talk about that. And Rambam uses very verbose language, very excessive language, right? In describing a person's ability or opportunity to be whatever he wants to be. And we know Rambam was a doctor and a great thinker, and we know that he believed in what we call today the nature-nurture side of things, which is, and it's brought in Masechet Nida as well. We may touch on it today, which means that a person is born with certain core traits, capacities, and with certain limitations, expectations, and that's how it works. In other words, everybody comes into the world with something, with some deck of some kind, right? And with things that can be improved, that must be improved, that must be built on. But generally speaking, in terms of what the person ultimately becomes, in terms of Sadiq or otherwise, it's totally in his hands. So let's see, we'll review the language quickly. So we're in Perek Hamishi, the first halacha of Hilchot Teshuva. Reshut l'chol adam netuna. Reshut l'chol adam netuna. Right? Every person has permission. And how does he have it? It's given to him. Every person is given permission, or is given the ability. Im ratza la'atot atzmo. If he wants to lean himself, reshut netuna im ratza, right, Eddie? A lot of words here. Im ratza la'atot atzmo, to lean himself, the derech tova, v'lehiyot sadiq. If he wants to lean into a good direction for himself and to be a tzaddik, grand slam, right? Harashut biyado. He has the permission to do it. In advance.
His choice.
Huh?
In his hand.
In his hands, right. In his hands. Harashut, excellent. Harashut biyado. Be'im ratza la'atot atzmo l'derech ra'ah. And if he wants to lean himself into the opposite type of path, v'lehiyot rasha harashut biyado. Same thing. So what are we saying? We're saying that a person can effectively create his own identity, create his own destiny. That sounds fine. But the words are very, very strong. Liot tzaddik is a big word, right? And the verbosity of it, the excess language, reshut, netuna, imratza, dahatot, the derech, v'lehiyot, hareshut biyado. Right, Eddie? So what did we say? How did we deal with all that extra language that's very unusual for Rambam?
Meaning it's not a jump like, oh, I'm on a good path. It's a slow.
Thank you.
It's steps
Yeah.
towards your ultimate goal.
Excellent. And the hataya, so it starts with a thought, an idea, what I want, who I want to be. It starts with that. That's not pashut. In other words, it's not a given that somebody is going to declare that he or she wants to be a tzaddik. Not a given. That's a challenge on its own right. I have the reshut.
But that's why they give you the opposite. You also have the choice to be a rasha.
Right.
Which means God's going to help you either way you want. You may have to make a choice.
Yeah, I have to make a choice. And the choice starts with leaning in a certain direction. Reshut netuna, the permission was given. Im ratza, a person made a conscious decision. La'atot atzmo. So the hataya is also what? It means something.
Another step.
It's another step. The hataya, the leaning. What do you mean? I just thought about something and I'm leaning in that direction, right? That's the English expression. I'm leaning into, I didn't do anything yet. No, you did something. That already means something. When I made a decision, I made a choice to move in a certain direction, I didn't do anything yet, that already means something.
Meaning the path is the same. Your feet are still in the same spot.
Perfect.
One's leaning this way or leaning that way.
Perfect.
So it's not
Perfect.
a different path. It's not a different path.
Right, I'm on. All right, so far the path wasn't articulated. Right, excellent. Right, path was not articulated. Now jump ahead a number of steps in terms of Hilchot Teshuva, and tell me what this means. Pause right here. Let's say, stop sentence here. Im ratza lahatot atzmo l'derech tova. Ratza, Joe, lahatot l'derech tova. Harashut biyado. Right? Liyot tzaddik. Right? Tell me, so what?
So it's telling you God's giving you bechira. This is your choice.
Excellent. He's giving me absolute bechira. Great.
Now, then the leading is, now it's your choice if you're going to do. That's why he says tova and then he says rasha.
Very good. So is this qualified? Is this sentence qualified? In other words, let's say a person spent his whole life living differently, living as a rasha. Is it qualify here what his capacity is at that point? It seems to not qualify it. In other words, regardless of where the person is,
What we gotta do is lean.
you lean, you already did something. Excellent. Yeah? Now, what's the practical implication of this? Exclusive of the fact that we're going to say if it's nature, nurture, right? Nature, nurture, we're going to say that a person never gives up his bechira, never gives up his ability to change, to pivot, to correct, to build. Never gives it up, no matter what. The person is a criminal his whole life. Doesn't make a difference. What do you mean? He's not hardwired into that? Rambam doesn't qualify it. He doesn't say, but if he's been at Rasha for a certain number of years, if he hasn't had an issue with his father, if he had an issue with his grandfather, whatever it might have been, if he had a thing with his parents, it's already out of his hands. He doesn't say that.
But it could be harder for some person to lean than the other person.
Yeah, that's right. But he says the ability is there.
Right.
Okay, very good. Now, what's the upshot in terms of Teshuva? On a practical, very, very practical level, tell me. What is the upshot? Huh?
In what sense?
When does a person make Teshuva? At what point?
Supposedly, when they realize they don't want to go any lower.
Okay, fine. But at what point, I didn't phrase it right. At what point is at least one major level of Teshuva effectuated?
When they think of it.
When I make a thought.
Ratza.
I made a decision.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable. One thing, I didn't change an action yet. I didn't end the bad relationship. I didn't stop the bad behavior. I decided from this point forward, I'm going to be different. And I didn't effectuate anything yet. It's a very interesting discussion between the rabbis. Did anything happen or not? A person proclaims, a person says, will you marry me? I'm not Shanit Tzaddik. Right? And he's not. Is it Tofes? Is it Kiddushin Tofes? Harei at mikudeshet li al menat al tnai Shanit Tzaddik.
Right. So it's no.
He says, yes. Because he can become a tzaddik in a second. Just with the change of thought.
Thought, you have to start thought, then action.
Right.
Thought has to come.
But do you want to value the thought as substantive, as effectual on some level or not? It appears that it already is something. Because when you start to lean in a certain direction and move on a certain path, that's already something. And therefore, the Teshuvah, you are a Baal Teshuvah already. What do you mean? I didn't do anything yet. So what we end up is, say something. But the reality is, according to Rav Kook, according to much more previous more mystical thinkers, and I think most of the rabbis will say that once I thought about change, I checked the box. Check the box. Is it Teshuva Gemura? Is it Teshuva Me'ula? No, it's not. But so what?
Just to think, not to make the decision. The thought to make a change.
The thought to make a
actually
change.
the decision.
The thought to make a change.
Which you-
Great.
So if we go to the other side, does a sin start with a thought?
Say that again?
If we go to the other
Very
side,
nice. Fantastic question. Fantastic question. So now you're going to tell me, right, appropriately so,
But he
that
has
if
no
it's...
mitzvah. It's
Huh?
not a sin.
no, I'm
There
saying
was
on
no
the flip
mitzvah
side.
here.
There's no, but one saying he changed. He did something.
But he's just telling you that the choice is near him. And that's why he tells you right after, even the choice to be bad.
Right.
He's saying if you did the other one, you get a sin. No, it's
He's
not.
saying if you made the choice to be bad,
It's okay.
so, but it's not such a clear-cut thing because we put up a wall here. We say, if a person made a choice to be good, that's a positive. Hi, good morning. But if he made a choice to be bad, he's not. In other words, what do we say? Mitzvah shebelev or machshava. We talked about it in Kibbur Abayim, right? So we say a good thought is paralleled oftentimes to a change or an action, but a bad thought is not. There are limited times when a bad thought is, right? We know that if someone is thinking about idol worship, or if someone is thinking about being with someone he shouldn't be with, that thought can be considered an action. Can be considered an action. What do you mean? He didn't do anything. Okay, but in certain limited contexts, a person is accountable for his machshava balev. Over here, we're going to say the extension of this is that when a person thinks he's going to go in a certain direction, Isaac, yeah, he thinks it. According to some, they're going to say, done. He's already Baal Teshuva. He's already on. Did he complete the process? No. Did he articulate the specific sins? No. All that? No. Okay. But he is already not the Rashad that he might have been? He's not. Okay. And the opposite is not the case. So therefore we know thoughts are transformative in this case. The shut netuna liado, la tota tatzmo, the derech tova, the yot tzaddik. So he has the shoot, the ability, the permission to lean in a certain direction, to be a tzaddik, harishut biado. Right? What did we say yesterday? Why did we repeat it the second time?
Oh, because we said it's not an immediate thing.
It's not an immediate thing. Good. Right, Isaac, your question. Well, does it go on the other side? Is a negative thought transformed to a negative action? The answer is no. Does a positive thought transform to a positive action? In most cases, the answer is yes. Good. Hu shekatuv b'Torah, hen ha'adam haya ke'achad mimenu, lada'at tov v'ra. What does that mean? Hen ha'adam haya ke'achad mimenu. Man is absolutely unique because he can make the choice, he can have a relationship between good and the opposite. Man can establish his relationship to it. He's not a monkey, he's not an animal, it's not instinctual. It's all choice-based. He can make his choices. Klomar, hen min zeh shel adam haya yachid be'olam ve'en min sheni domeh lo. There's no other species like man that he will be he, himself, exclusively, man, ma'atzmo, beda'ato, based on his own way he relates to things, his own thoughts, What is he saying, Eddie? He's saying a very big deal here.
He's saying why we're unique is because it's presented in front of us, and just to know the difference between good and bad would make us human.
And the person could know that X is bad and choose it anyway.
Correct.
Right? Right? A monkey will never run into a burning building. but a person would. Because a monkey makes decisions and a person makes choices. A person can think outside of the realm of logic. So what is he saying here? He's saying the person knows that something might be bad, but might choose it anyway. Meaning, he really does have absolute free choice. Would you think that anybody would choose to do something if it says in the Torah, if you do this thing, there's a punishment for it? Why would someone choose to do it?
Well, when God gave us a Torah, He didn't really give you. If you look at it, the American way, He didn't give you.
Isaac, could you turn on the fan?
They're both not working. I tried.
Oh, they're not
Try
working.
getting-
Okay. All right. Sorry, guys. Yeah.
So when God gave us the Torah, right, He kept the mountain on top of our heads. He said, "Choose life or you're dead."
Right.
So is that really a choice?
It wasn't.
It was no, but it's to what you're saying exactly now is to tell you that the way you choose life is having the choice to understand
Right.
what is life.
Right.
What is life is having choices.
Right. Very good. But I can make the distinctions. I could see something is bad and go there anyway. Right?
Yeah.
That's what we're saying. Yeah. I know this thing's not good for me. I know it's not good for me. I know this person is not good for me. I know this environment is not right for me. It's okay, it'll be okay. But you know it's not. But man has the unique ability to choose to go there. Meaning, I'm never restricted. Right? A person is never restricted in his ability to choose. That's a very big deal. And when you think of the case, a man would run into a burning building, meaning, in that case, you would say he's probably trying to save someone, right? But a man will run into a burning building stupidly also, right? That's a possibility too, right? I know this thing is not good for me. I know this environment is not right for me. I know these people are not right for me. But there's a tug. There's an allure about it. I know it, but it's, come on, don't make such a big deal out of it, right? It's done. So even the subtle, the nuanced, where a person knows it's not good, he still has the ability to choose to do it. Alachad kama b'kama, if he wants to choose anything else in the context of good or great, he has that opportunity as well. And it also, Rambam also makes the point that Sidkut is not an exclusive club. That anybody could be a tzaddik. Anybody can be a tzaddik. Nobody is hardwired out of that. Right? Anybody could be yashad. We're going to see now more of the term. Okay, what does that say? Anybody could be, what does that say? What does that tell us? Huh? That, I don't have a limitation. I'm not limited. God didn't limit me. God doesn't, okay, we're going to talk a little bit more about that in Hilchot Te'et, but for now, that's where we are. כלומר, הן מין של אדם היחיד בעולם. Man is the only species, ואין מין שני, and there is no other דומה לו. Similar to him, בזה העניין שהוא מעצמו, that he himself בדעתו, במחשבתו, יודע הטוב והרע, ועושה כל מה שהוא חפץ. He knows the good and the opposite, and even though he knows, he has a relation to each. He knows that one is good and one is the other, he can still choose the other. ואין מי שיעכב בידו מעשות הטוב או הרע, בין שכן וכיוון שכן הוא פן ישלח לידו, right? When HaKadosh Baruch Hu was throwing Adam and Hava out of Gan Eden, he puts up the wall. Didn't he already throw them out? Didn't they get the message? No, pen yishlach yado. Maybe he wants to reach back in. So we're saying a remarkable thing here. It comes off kind of straightforward, but it's not. We're saying that no matter we don't say that the what is it called, the cards are stacked against someone. We don't say that. What do you mean? This person grew up under these compromised conditions. So what? Might it be a little harder for him in that respect? Maybe. But can I write off his behavior because of that? Of course not. And does he have the ability to be king? He does. Everybody does. So I can't use my nurturing to excuse anything. Might it be harder? It might be harder. So, what does this tell a parent? What does it tell an educator? What does it tell a human being himself? What does it do?
Never give up on anybody.
Never give up on anybody, right? What else?
See their true potential.
Huh?
See the kid's potential that they don't see.
Right. See another person's potential which they might not even see, right? Don't write things off. He's a victim of this, she's a victim of that. Okay, they might be a victim of X. So that means the climb might have different steps, but it's not limited. I'll give you a case in point. One educator told me, maybe, I don't know, 15 or 20 years ago, said, I said, what happened with Reuven? Well, what happened? What happened? How could it be in 4 years you didn't inspire this kid, you didn't build this kid? That's what he is. It's not true. It's not true. If he wasn't going to be great at math, maybe he's great at bicycle maintenance. And that will build his confidence. And then you might discover that he can write well. You didn't try hard enough to help him discover what he needed to break out of the zone that he was put in as a dumb kid. Everybody has an out. You didn't try hard enough. You needed to find something. So this is similar to what we're saying here. Don't consider in your mind, don't buy into what the dumb people of the world say. And many or most of the people within Jewish people as well, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu decrees on a person from the beginning of his life, from when he was born, to be a tzaddik or the opposite. En hadavar ken, ela kol adam ra'oi liyot tzaddik keMoshe Rabbeinu. Wow! What are you talking about? How does that work? Now, you're reading it now, right? You're not a kid. Do you still have the potential to be tzaddik keMoshe Rabbeinu? Jaime?
Sure.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not? Everybody does. And he doesn't qualify it. Or Rasha Kiryavam, or Chacham, or Sachal, or Rahman. A person, everybody can be a Chacham, or the opposite. Everyone could be merciful, or the opposite. Or Kili, or Shua. V'chen shad kol ha'deot, ve'en lo mi she'yachafehu, ve'lo gozer alav. You can't ever put the blame on somebody else and say, they forced me, they pushed me, it was out of my hands. ולא מי שמושכו לאחד משני הדרכים, אלא הוא מעצמו ומדעתו נוטה לאי זה דרך שיצא. הוא מעצמו ומדעתו יתה לאיזה אי דרך שירצה. What does that mean?
It's from his knowledge and his stuff that gives him the turnout.
Right.
Result.
So what if someone grew up with an abusive parent?
But that's the thing about, remember you said about the grandfather. Oh, it was like his grandfather.
Right.
Because they were molded that way. Like you said, some harder for some people, easier for other people. Because they molded that's the way it should be, or it's supposed to be.
Right. But are they stuck in the mold? The point is they're not stuck in the mold.
You're not stuck in the mold. That's what they're telling you. Don't be stuck in the mold, tzaddik for one person could be
right.
Nothing for somebody else.
Okay, good. Now, in terms of parenting, getting back to Kibbutz Abayim for a minute, what does this tell us as parents? What does it tell us as parents about the potential of our children, our hadaha, our direction to our children? What does it tell us?
Never label them. Don't label them. Don't put limits on my child's potential, even if I'm seeing something that I think is whatever, but they have the ability.
Never, ever label a child. Ever. Never label a child.
And don't lower the standard. The standard is always here. So if the kids are not there, they just gotta keep going. But
fantastic.
And never move.
Fantastic. Never lower the standard.
You're showing them your direction.
Right.
Your path.
Right. Beautiful. Hu Shirmiyah amar mipi elyon lo tetzeh haraot v'atov. Right? The good or bad doesn't come from Elyon, from the Shamayim. Klomar, en haboreh gozer al adam liyot tov lo liyot ra, כיוון שכן הוא מנסה זה, החוטא הוא הפסיד את עצמו. החוטא הפסיד את עצמו. What does that mean?
The sinner loses himself.
He loses himself. Why? Because he decided. Great. By the way, what is, when we say the word choteh, this is very, very important. Very important. What is a chet?
In English, it's sinner.
Sin by mistake.
It's what?
Sin by mistake.
Beautiful. I'm going to tweak that just a little bit, right? We have chet, avon, and pesha. Very, very important. Pesha, is when someone deliberately decides to do something against halakha to anger God.
That's apikoros.
That's a poshea, right? Drop down avon is when someone decides to do something that he knows is wrong, but it's also intentional and deliberate. Chet is where most of the problems are. The chet is something that came from a lack of rigorousness, a lack of drive.
They call it tinok nishba.
No. One say no. It's actually the other side of the extreme. The chet is the thing that people do because they're a little bit lazy, or they could have opened the book and checked out the halakha or didn't, or they could have moved the meeting 10 minutes earlier and made midcha and they didn't. Chet is that it's not a deliberate challenge of God or a deliberate intention not to do a thing. It's laziness, it's lethargy, it's lack of rigor. And our rabbis say, and it's true because we know it from practical life, that most of the places that people fall are as a result of chet. We're not poshim, chas v'shalom. We're not avaryanim. We don't come out and do things deliberately wrong. Well, you slip into them. We're not so rigorous on this. I didn't check that thing. I forgot to say the beracha. I said the beracha without thinking about it. That's a chet. And the rabbis write that that's the most insidious. That's the most destructive. Tell me why.
Well, first, it's more common.
It's more common. Perfect. It's more common. And therefore what?
You're less.
Say it's no big deal.
It's no big deal. So they parallel and they portray, and I find this very helpful in my own head. They portray the chet as the crack in the hourglass, where the sand is this slipping out very subtly, where you wouldn't even notice, right? It's just slipping out, just a little at a time. You probably never saw an hourglass, right, Isaac? Oh, you did? Okay, good. Where it's just slipping out. That's the chet. Now, when do we charge ourselves to be chet busters with what beracha in the morning? Do we charge ourselves to be chet aware and chet fighters? Very, very important beracha. And we say in a list of things, and this is one of a list of things, I'm really pretty much giving it away, but this is one of a list of things we say when we're in a list, right? When we list something in the Chumash, or we list something when we're saying tefillot, whatever it might be. Yeah, and the last one, this is Al Pi Dat Ramban, the last one is the most important, yeah? And the last one is the machriya on everything that came before it. It's a beautiful mahalach. It's a beautiful way to learn. So, for example, the classic case where Ramban writes this is with the Aseret HaDibirot, right? What's the last one? Lo tachmod, right? Beauty. He says a beautiful, groundbreaking thing. He says that lo tachmod is the highest level, the biggest command, and that the person who fails in that, lo alenu, will fail in everything else, and the person who achieves that will be successful in everything else. Awesome. Now, you want to throw a little bit into this thing real quick, and then I'll tell you the answer to this thing. Well, in 3 parshiot, right, Parashat Mishpatim, I think it's Ki Tisa, I forget, 2 others, well, we have Lo Tevashel Gedi B'Halev Imo, right? Very good. When is it listed?
What do you mean, when is it?
Where is it listed? Just in general context.
We just said it last week.
Where? Okay, where is it listed? It's lit. Huh? It's listed, okay, good. Ekev. Okay, fine, wherever the third one went. It's listed at the end of a list of mitzvot. You don't find not tevashel gedi b'chalev imo in the middle of something. We listed 3 times, right? And it's always listed at the end. And in a seemingly unrelated way, it seems to drop out of the sky. From this, our rabbis build a fascinating thing. If you're going to go according to the Mahalach of the Ramban, that it's also always elevated, and that the last one on the list is the Machriya for everything that came before, you're going to say, I am what I eat, and if I eat al pi halacha, that will make me different in all the halachot that preceded it. It's an awesome perspective, because the reality is we hold that to be true. We hold that when a Jewish neshama intakes non-Jewish food, then the neshama is hampered. The neshama is damaged. What do you mean? What does my soul have to do with what my physical ingestion is? It has everything to do. So therefore, what is the last in a list? The last in a list, I'll give you another hint. We say it every morning, Bechot HaShachar perfectly. What's the last beracha before Bechot HaTorah is what?
Before Bechot HaTorah.
Right, before Bechot HaTorah.
We have Shelo Asarei Goy.
Yeah, the last one.
No, what's after that?
Last one.
Before Bechot HaTorah, so before Birkat Kohanim, before in the Bechot HaShachar specifically. Before. Perfect, but go a few steps back. Hama'avir. Perfect, say it over. Hama'avir chavlei shena me'enai utnuma me'afapai. Okay, what does that mean? Isaac, what does it mean, honey? Ma'avir chavlei shena me'enai utnuma me'afapai. You remember? All right, need to own these. These we need to own them. Huh?
The ropes of
Ma'avir chavlei, the ropes of shena. Ma'azu shena? Sleep. Me'ena, utnuma, and drowsiness, ma'afapai. From my eyelids. What are we talking about? And that's the last of the berachot, and that's according to Ramban, the Machriya of everything that comes before. Absolutely. What are we talking about?
It's holding you down. Everybody.
What is? Excellent. What is holding me down? Chavlei shena, the drowsiness, the lethargy, the laziness, the indecision, the lack of rigor, the lack of azut, right? We ask HaKadosh Baruch Hu, move this away. What are we doing when we say the Bechot HaShachar? We're, of course, like anything else in Tefillah, I'm reaching in and I'm reaching out. So when I reach out to Borei Olam to say, remove the lethargy, remove the laziness, remove the indecision, I'm talking primarily to myself, charging myself, empowering myself to not be lazy. And lazy doesn't mean lazy, like we classically say. Lazy means just let it go, don't worry about it, it's not a big deal, it's not this, it's not that. Because that not a big deal stuff yields chet. So the issue I want to be most concerned about is not avon or pesha. We're not those kind of people. The thing that really harms most people is the lack of awareness, of zealousness, of rigor to avoid the chet. I know that this person causes me to say hurtful things. The chemistry between us is not good. Avoid the meeting. Just avoid it. Be heads up. I know on Mondays my day is stacked with meetings, and I always have a challenge with mincha. Okay, think about it. Be proactive. Catch it. I know when I go to this and that place, it's hurtful for me. It confuses me. I get challenged. Okay, next. I know I don't know the halachot well enough in this and that area. Get on it. That's the whole story. So when we say that the reshut, the permission, the ability is never taken from the person. Almost never. Almost never. Right? Almost never. We're going to say 99% not. We know that We know that sometimes a person just fights so hard to stay in a certain direction that God just says, do what you want. Right? Yeah. בדרך שהאדם הולך מוליכים אותו. We know it. When a person...
God will help you in any direction.
He will.
But just to say, no, I'm leaving you, that's...
Yeah, it happens.
You're saying when somebody wants to do bad, or
When
just
someone-
doesn't want to grow?
No, when they want to do bad and God keeps interfering and interfering and interfering and sending signs and sending people and sending more signs, sending people. I mean, this probably rarely happens, but it can happen. Where it says, okay, do what you want. It says, do what you want. Why? Doesn't the teacher ever say, do what you want? At a certain point, teacher will say, do what you want. I can't anymore.
That would be a bad educator.
Yeah, it would be a bad educator.
Giving up on
That's right. That's right. And that's why 99% of the time, you're not going to see it. But is there a possibility of it happening? Yes.
Yes, yes.
Okay, but there is. We have to know there is. Okay, he could be good or bad. There will never be a person, never ever be a person in a person's life that's given the level of influence over another person to move him in a particular direction. Very important point. The father could be a bum. The teacher could be a disaster. It could be. But that person will never hold full sway over another human being. You can't say, I grew up in a slum, what do you want from me if I carry a gun and whatever? What do you want? It's the person's conditions and so on. Can't say it. It doesn't hold. Okay. Okay, great. Okay, 1 second. Okay. Okay. החוטא זהו מפסיד את עצמו. Great. I'm going to skip to הלכה ג' דבר זה עיקר גדול הוא. והוא אומר, התורה והמצווה שנאמר, ראה נתתי לפניך היום את החיים. כתיב ראה אנוכי נותן לפניכם היום. אנוכי נותן לפניכם היום את החיים. What does that say? Every day.
Yeah, whenever they write hayom, it means forever.
Forever and every day.
Correct.
נתתי לפניכם, נותן לפניכם, not נתתי. נותן לפניכם היום. So every day is a new day, every day is a new possibility. A person is not hardwired to something, and a person has absolute choice and capacity. כלומר שהרשות בידיכם, בכל שיחפוץ האדם לעשות מעשה בני אדם, עושה בין טובים בין רעים, ומפני זה העניין נאמר מי ייתן והיה לבבם זה להם. Both the good inclination, levavam, right, plural. Both the good inclination and the negative inclination is still under my control. So what does that mean? We say that a person has this other yetzer, right? This inclination, right? Is the inclination better than me, stronger than me? It's not. It's still in my control. 1 second. Then why do I call it the yetzer, the creator of Ra? Why do I call it that if it's still under my control?
Because you're the one letting it create.
Yeah. But I still control it, right? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't natan, he's noten. So every day I get re-empowered to redirect my life. Very good. Now, there's a Agarata ish in Masechet Nida that says that there are certain permanent endowments to a person. There are certain permanent endowments. How smart a person will be might be a permanent endowment. Might be, that comes from Shemaim. Okay. The Rishonim weigh in on it. What does it mean? I don't know that I want to get into it or not, because it's hard to understand it. But Rambam clearly does not hold that anybody is limited by anything. He does not hold that. Clearly from this language. And he doesn't backtrack on it. Okay, let's see. Okay. Okay, great. A little bit more here. He says like this. He says, if it wasn't true, and man really didn't have absolute free choice, unending absolute free choice, in other words, it never gets qualified, if that wasn't true, it would say, Ma makom hayal chol Torah kula, be'ez zadin, באיזה משפט? נפרע מן הרשע ומשלם שכר לצדיק. What is he saying? If it wasn't true, if it wasn't the case that a person had any choice that he wanted, can make the choice any time that he wanted, what would be the point of Torah? There would be no point. Good? Because you would say, well, what do you want from the guy? He's hardwired in a certain direction. So I can't hold him accountable for the Torah that he doesn't do. So what would be the point of Torah? If a person was hardwired a certain way, or his nurturing forced him in a certain direction and locked him into that direction, what would be the point of Torah anyway? He couldn't choose to do it, so why give it to him? Right? He couldn't choose to do it, right? If he was born a certain way, v'dayenu. If he was brought up a certain way, v'dayenu. Now you're going to come and you're going to tell him, go ahead and do this mitzvah? He says, I can't do it. But you can do it because it applies to everybody. Good. So he's just emphasizing the point a little more. Great. Okay. Thoughts or questions on this so far? We're good. Everybody good, right? The fichach. I'm going to jump ahead. Danin oto lefi ma'asav. Therefore, a person is judged according to his or her actions. Im asa tova metivim lo, ve'im asa ra'a meri'im lo. Hu shanavi omer mi'etchem hayta zot lachem. Bam. What does that mean? What does that mean?
If he does good, he gets good. If he does bad, he gets bad.
Meaning what? Where does it come from?
What do you mean?
Where does the good or bad come from?
You.
You?
From the action itself.
From the action itself. So what does that mean? It means half the time I spend blaming God for this or that or the other thing, or looking outside myself, try to understand why this is happening, positive or otherwise. And the reality is, God says, what are you talking to me for? You leaned in this direction. You hung around with these people. You bought into this culture. You took this step. What do you want from me? Isn't that true? Is it true?
No, but what
It's
about
true.
The, no, what about the tests?
Huh? Okay, good. We'll talk about tests in a minute. Excellent. Very good. But what is he saying here? He's saying that most of what goes on has nothing to do with God. Most of what goes on is what I brought on myself. Period. No, you have to blow up the whole system when you read this. Stop with the God, God, God. God says, what are you talking to me for? I had nothing to do with this. You created this scenario. You started this direction in your life. You connected to these people. You took this risk. You did this thing. Right?
I'm confused on this.
Huh? You're confused. Okay. I'm going to read it again. Fichach, danin oto lefi ma'asav. Im asa tova metivim lo. Im asa ra'a meri'im lo. So when the first sentence, it seems to say that when a person is judged according to his actions, and if he does good, metivim lo. What does it sound like? Chaim? Sounds like what?
Metivim will mean they give him more goodness.
Excellent. But who does it sound like is giving it to him?
Himself.
Well, before we get to that, now we know that. But im asa tova, oseh tova metivim lo, it sounds like a third party. Beautiful.
From the first action.
Excellent. That's what it sounds like. But then Rambam qualifies it. Hu shanavi omer mi'etchem hayta zot lachem. From your hands, this came to you. So this brings a very different head about things, right? Lo aleinu, a person is going through a difficult time. When I cry out to God for help, what I should be doing is crying out to Him to help me figure out how I got myself in this place. It's different than crying out to God and saying, God, help me. Get me out of this place. Different thing. Different thing. Can I pray to God and say, God, help me get me out of this place? Of course I can. But you're missing the whole point.
Open up your awareness for why I got here.
Right. How did I put myself here? How did I move myself here? That's what we should be thinking about. If it's overwhelmingly in my hands, it means that the results or the reactions of what happens to me is overwhelmingly by my doing. And it's outside of what God did or didn't do. What's God have to do with it? I mean, the extreme case is if a person is speeding and then, God forbid, gets into an accident, what are you talking to God for? God had nothing to do with it. You were speeding. You got into the accident. God says, what are you talking to me about? I had nothing to do with this. So that says, if you put this all together at this point and you pause, it says that a person has overwhelmingly absolute possibility, authority, capacity over his own life. And God, I'm going to make the point in the extreme case, says, stop talking to me and talk to yourself and figure out how you put yourself there and how you should fix it. Right? Because I have the responsibility, I have the capacity to do what I want and to understand what I did. And it's not all about God.
So what is about God then?
So what is about God? So what is about God? Fantastic. What would you say? What would you say? What is about God? What is about God is what Eddie started to say, which we call Yisurin Shel Ahava, or Beracha. So Yisurin Shel Ahava are a person moved along a certain direction, right? His decisions shouldn't have yielded X, they should have yielded Y, right? But it's hunkered down to X, right? That we call Yisurin Shel Ahava, suffering of love, right? And HaKadosh Baruch Hu will impose that when the Y, what the person's aspiration wasn't enough for that person, it was too low. So, Sachar Ba'onesh, reward and punishment, overwhelmingly is not manifest in this world. Overwhelmingly not. Reward and punishment overwhelmingly manifests in the world to come, after a person's 120 years. Good. So most of what a person goes through in this life is based on his own doing. I decided I wanted to stay with these kind of people. I decided I wanted to go into this line of work. I made a decision. You made a decision. Now you have to pay for it. But sometimes stuff happens that's completely outside. In that case, we have what we call Yisurin Shel Ahava, the suffering of love, where HaKadosh Baruch Hu will cause someone to not succeed at what he put his attention to come up short. The business gets closed for an extraordinary reason, whatever it might be, because the person was shooting too low. So in that case, if the person is in touch with himself and understands what he's doing and is clear-minded, and he takes that long walk, or he opens up a sefer and he starts to read and to learn, and he thinks and he thinks and he says, you know what? You know what happened here? The fruit, my labor, my effort didn't yield the fruit that it should. 1 + 1 didn't equal 2, even though for everybody else it did, or for most people it did. In my case, 1 + 1 yielded 1.5. Why? Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is weighing in and saying, your 1 + 1 is too limited for you. You have a much greater capacity. And I'm not going to let you succeed to yield the 2, because the 2 is too little for you, and it should be 3.
In this world.
In this world.
Mm-hmm.
It's important, right? We learned this before. Yeah? So Yisurin Shel Ahava. Yes? You got it?
So we're asking for the larger perspective.
Right.
In a sense.
Right.
We're asking to be better chess players, to see the moves ahead and not just acting, one by one.
Fine. But if you're playing the wrong game and you're trying earnestly and sincerely, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to trip you up. Not because you did something wrong.
No.
Now, on the other hand, we get unearned help. Right? We get what we call beracha, which last year when we talked about this, we called it the pixie dust, right? Which means that a person starts in a certain direction, does a certain amount of effort, 1 plus 1 should equal 2. He gets sprinkling down an artificial kick. His 1 plus 1 that should have yielded $100 yields $200. Why? Completely unnatural. Unearned. It's unearned. HaKadosh Baruch Hu will do that as well sometimes when the effort is meant to be overwhelmingly encouraged. So, I have both, right? I have both. Generally speaking, man makes his own bed, so to speak, right? Generally speaking, in this world, most of what happens to a person is of his own doing. And even when the stuff happens that's outside of my ability to understand, the first thing I have to do is look inside. And like we touched on yesterday, if my look inside is objective and not self-judging and not guilt-driven and not sledgehammering myself, then it's just a very normal process. Like I would do in a business, right? We finish the quarter, we look back. We do a post-mortem on the quarter, right? How we did that quarter. We do it objectively. We don't do it emotionally. It's purely objective. So in that case, when the person can do more, can shoot higher, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to give you Yisurim Shel Ahava. He's going to say, sorry, it's not good enough. Not for you. You can do more. I'm not going to give you the success you want in this area because you could bring a greater success if you pick your head up. Right? In the old days, they used to say that the enemy of better is good and the enemy of great is better. Right? Remember though, they used to have that kind of thing in business literature. So we have that thing. But otherwise, according to Rambam, because I have the ability to choose, almost forever, right? I'm absolutely responsible for my actions. And like we said yesterday, if a person assumes that responsibility without guilt and without self-judgment and overwhelmingly devoid of emotion, he can really grow. We have to move off our emotional radar screen, now intellectual radar screen, what happens in Western society, which means when a person retrospects, he does it with a ton of emotion. Okay, so from the perspective of Rambam here, we say that the person is given a remarkable level of freedom, of the ability to choose, of the capacity to make his own direction, and therefore he's accountable to that. Now I want to just wrap up with one thing we said yesterday again to reinforce it because it's very, very important. When we make Teshuva, what we're doing is we're trying to drill down below the surface to the core areas that have to be addressed, right? We mentioned yesterday, yeah? That most of the things that a person does one way or the other are just manifestations. They're just surface things. But when we talk about making Teshuvah and we enter a month where we're prepping for it, we're supposed to drive below the surface, find the root causes of the things that we do. And those are the things that should be addressed. In other words, rather than figuring out simply how to not, how to be more makpid on saying this bracha, doing that thing, make an objective, unemotional effort to drill down and find the core areas that have to be fixed. And when I find the core areas that have to be fixed, I'm touching on my neshamic core and my core purpose in this world. Because as you live longer with God's help, right? And as you see more, you understand better and better that it's recurring stuff. That the stuff that we fail in is all the similar. And therefore it all comes from the same innate something. And that's what has to be discovered and addressed. Not the surface stuff. When we say all the surface stuff in the vidui, right? I didn't say this, I didn't do that, I didn't do that, I did do that, I didn't do that. That's meant to trigger in me my ability to look deep inside and say, why? That's Teshuvah. To come to me, to be to find out those things in me, in my neshama that I was sent back this time to fix, and to positively, ambitiously, optimistically fix them. Good? Thoughts? All right, I'm leaving for Israel tomorrow night, God willing. Anybody around tomorrow, or should we pause our summer learning today? What do you think? You around? You around tomorrow? Yeah. You're around?